Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Kanika Tandon and I am here with the video of Class 6 English 2nd. Today we are going to complete our chapter number 9. Not in the same video. I have divided this video into two parts. In first part I'll be explaining you chapter number 9, and in the second part I'll be giving you the question answers and the exercise of the same chapter. So you're requested to please find both of the videos and study from them. Thank you. Okay. Scene number 1. The time is about 6:30 in the evening. It is gradually getting darker. Sound of horse hooves in the distance, slowly getting fainter. A bench, center. Norman Godsby and his friend Harry Crispin and an old man sitting on the bench. While Godsby is well dressed, the old man has a beaten look about him. He is wearing an old, well worn suit. As Godsby looks at him, the man gets up from the bench and walking slowly exits left. So what is happening in the scene? The scene is right in the picture. There is a bench. There sits Norman Godsby and a friend of Norman Godsby who was Harry Crispin, and an old man. So here, because Norman Godsby was wearing a very good dress, this old man has a very beaten look about him. Alright, not a very good view about him. And he's wearing a very old and well-worn suit. So when Godsby looked at him, the man gets up from the bench and walks away slowly. Alright. Now Godsby to Crispin, there's something really tragic about the man. The suit is in a bad condition. I wonder where he's going. Maybe a boarding house whose rent he can barely pay. You cannot know what people are like just by looking at them. As they talk, a young man enters, sits down on the bench, mutters to himself. His actions are exaggerated, drawing attention to himself. So now what happens? As this old man is getting up and going, Godsby says that I think there is something really not good. There is something that has not happened with this man, which is good, because his suit was in a very bad condition, and I guess he lives in a place where, in a boarding house, like a guest house where you can pay to live and have meals, but he I guess, according to him, he must not be able to pay his bills. Now what happens? As this happens, a young man also enters in the scene and sits on the bench and doing some actions that is drawing their attention to him. Godsby, responding to the man's obvious need for attention, you don't seem in a very good temper. That means you don't seem in a very good temper means like the way you are talking, the way you are controlling your emotions, that is not very good. Young man, turning eagerly to Godsby, you wouldn't be in a good temper if you were in a fix. In the fix I am in, I have done the silliest thing I've ever done in my life. So he says ki if you were at my place, and if you would have done something what I had done, you wouldn't be in a very good mood either. So he says that he has done something very silly. Godsby, yes, glances sideways at Crispin. Now he's eager to know what has happened. Young man, I got to London just this afternoon with plans to stay at Patagonian Hotel in Berkshire Square. When I got there, I found it had been pulled down some weeks ago, and a cinema theatre was coming up on the site. So now he has come to London a week ago, and he wants to live at a place which is already torn down, and some cinema theatre has already been started the construction. Crispin, almost smiling. That must have come by as a shock. Now he says, okay, if this has happened to you, this must have come as a shock to you. Young man, yes, it was, but the taxi driver who had taken me there recommended another hotel some way off. I went there and got a room. I sent a letter to my people, going them the address, and then went out to buy some soap. I had forgotten to pack any soap, and I hate using hotel soap. Then I strolled about a little and looked at the shops. When I decided to go back to the hotel, I suddenly realized that I didn't remember its name or even what street it was in. There is a nice situation for a fellow who hasn't any friends or connections in London. Oh my god. Okay, so what has happened with him? When the taxi driver knew that he had to check in this hotel which was torn down, he uh, provided him with some another hotel. But then when he got out to buy some soap for himself, he forgot in what street and what street was the hotel and what was the name of the hotel. Turn on to the next page. Crispin, well, that's a pity, but not such a desperate situation as you seem to think it is. All you have to do is to go to the nearest telegraph office and wire your people asking for the address. You did send them the address, didn't you? Okay, so he's giving him a solution that you can go to a nearest telegraph office and then ask your people to whom you have sent the address of the hotel to send it back to you. Young man, of course I can wire my people for the address, but they won't have got my letter till tomorrow. Meantime, I am without any money. Turns to Godsby, who has been silent for a while now. So now he had done the same thing that Crispin told him, but he was uh, a shelterless and moneyless in the streets of London for a night. So now he has turned himself to God's spy. Why? Because he had been silent for a very long time. I left the hotel with only a shilling on me, which I used for buying the soap. So here I am, wandering about with 2 pence in my pocket and nowhere to go for the night. Godsby says nothing. He stood staring silently at the young man. So now he has only 2 pence. All right, because he had spent the money he had in buying some soap. So now he does not have any money, also no shelter for the night. Now Godsby is not speaking anything, he's just staring at the man. Young man, after a pause, I suppose you think I have made the whole thing up. Okay, so now young man thinks that they are thinking that he has made the whole thing up. There is nothing of this sort that has happened. Crispin, still with a hint of silence, no, not necessarily. I remember doing exactly the same thing once in a foreign city. So Crispin had done the same thing in the foreign city. There were two of us, which made forgetting the name of our hotel even more remarkable. Luckily, we remembered that it was on a sort of a canal. When we got to the canal, we were able to find our way back to the hotel. Remember that, Norman? So that the another person was Norman only, and they also forgot the name of the hotel. But then they remembered that it was near a canal, so they went there and realized, understood, found their hotel. And now he's asking to Norman whether he had remembered this or not. Young man, oh, in a foreign city, I wouldn't mind so much. One could go to one's embassy and get help there. Here is one's own country. It feels far more foolish to go about forgetting names. Okay, so he was from London only, but he forgot the name. So he's asking, okay, if we go to the embassy, we can get the information from there. They help their people of their own country, but I am from London itself and nobody is going to help me unless I can find some decent chap to believe me and lend me some money. I'll probably have to spend the night out in the open. Anyway, I'm glad you don't think I am telling you an impossible tale. Okay, so young man wants that somebody would lend him some money so that he spend his night somewhere at a place. but he was glad to understand that it was the Norman and Crispin thinks that it is not an impossible tale. Godsby, of course, the weak point of your story is that you can't produce the cake of soap. The man sits up, feels through the pockets of his overcoat, and jumps to his feet. Okay, young man, with obvious anger, I must have lost it. Okay, so Godsby think of, okay, the weak point of the story is that you cannot produce the cake of the soap. So now, as he was telling Godsby and Crispin that he had some money which he spent on buying a soap, but now Godsby has observed that he has no soap also. So the young man gets angry and said, I must have lost it. Crispin, laughing now, you lost your hotel and a cake of soap in the same afternoon. Looks like extreme carelessness to me. The man looks away and then, adopting a confident posture, walks off right. Crispin is still laughing. Godsby is more restrained and smiling softly. So now they know that that person was actually lying. Now let us read the next part of the chapter so that we know what has happened. Turn on to the next page. Okay, the scene continues with Godsby and Crispin talking to themselves, to each other. Crosby, such a pity, going out to get his own soap was the only true sounding part of the whole story. But he didn't realize how that could become a problem. If only he had the forethought to get himself a cake of soap, we would have believed him. You can't be a successful con man unless you paid attention to the details. Now, according to Godsby, he said that that was the only part of the story that he thought was actually true, but he is actually advising Gibson that if you want to become a con man, you should be paying proper detail paying proper attention on little details. Crispin, it was just his bad luck to have come to us rather than anybody else. Anyway, let us leave. We have to meet Terry for dinner by 8. They stand up to leave, but Crispin's attention is caught by something on the ground. It is a small oval packet. Okay, so now Crispin thinks that there was something on the Crispin thinks that they had to go for the dinner to somebody, but as they were leaving the bench, Godsby actually found a little oval pack. Crispin, bending to pick up the packet. What's this? Godsby, oh, this must be the cake of soap that the young man was talking about. It must have fallen out of his pocket when he sat down. We must find him. And then they go out to find the man. So now, this was scene 1. Now coming on to scene number 2. Path leading away from the park, Godsby and Crispin walking quickly, looking out for young man. They see him in the distance, walking by the kennel. Crispin calls out. Crispin, hey you, man who lost his hotel. The man turns around, throws an angry look at them, and they walked up to him. Godsby, holding out the cake of soap. The proof of your story has turned up. It must have slipped out of your over pocket when you sat down on the seat. We saw it on the ground after you left. You must excuse our earlier disbelief, though I'm sure you see it all looked impossible to believe without the cake of soap. Now it's only fair thing that we should help you with what you need. Holding on to his hand with a souvenir in it. If the loan of souvenir is any good to you, the young man puts his hand and takes the coin. So now Godsby is talking to this person and saying that, okay, now please forgive us for not believing in you before, but now we realize that you were saying the truth. So if you want, I can help you with some money. And then he gives him some money and the young man takes it. Godsby, here's my card with my address. You can return the money any day this week. And here's the soap. Don't lose it again. It's been a good friend to you. Okay, now he has given some money, and the card and the phone number also, so that he could return the money. Let's see what happens. Turn on to the next page. Young man, lucky thing you're finding it. Thank you. The man turns and starts walking away at a fast pace. Exits right. Godsby. As two friends walked by the way they had come, poor boy, he almost broke down. It must have been such a relief to find a way out of his problems. It's a lesson to us not to be too clever in judging people by the circumstances. Okay, so they are taking it all on themselves and thinking that they had become too judgy very soon. Now coming on to the scene third, Godsby and Cripson are passing by the bench they were sitting on earlier. They see the old man who had been sitting there earlier looking for something on the ground. Oh my god, this is such a twist in the tale. So now what happens, as they are going back, they see that the old man who was sitting on the chair on the table before, he is sitting on the he's searching for something. Godsby curiously, have you lost anything, sir? Old man still bending over the grass, muttering to himself, funny thing how easily these things just disappeared now. What could it be? So now the old man has not told them yet that what he finding, but then he says that okay, these little things get disappear so quickly. I don't know where it will be. Cosby again, but louder. Have you lost anything, sir? Old man. Oh, nothing much, young man. Just a cake of soap. It must have slipped out of my pocket when I got up. You haven't seen it, have you? Okay, so this was the story. The cake of soap was actually of the old man, and that young man was actually a con man who had just uh, been there to get some money from people with the hotel story. This was actually a funny one. So what do we understand from the chapter? That Mr. Norman Godsby was actually not as observant as he was proud of. Okay, with this the explanation part of the chapter is over. In my next video today only, I'll be giving the question answers and the exercise of this chapter.